Welcome to Final Girl Face Off, where we talk about everyone's favorite horror movie trope, the final girl. I'm Pure Genius, and each episode will compare two film characters based on how they fit my final girl formula, their memorable dialogue, and most importantly, their level of badassery. This episode will compare Sidney Prescott and Gail Weathers from the seminal 90s horror flick Scream. And just in case you're not familiar with this movie, spoiler alert, here comes a one-breath synopsis. Creepy phone calls and horror trivia. Oh man, Drew's already dead? Meet teenager Sidney and a boyfriend Billy. Sid won't put out. Billy seems like the killer but has an alibi. Sid doesn't like Gail. Partay. Dewey and Gail fall for each other. Billy is stabbed. Sid runs. Wait, Billy's alive and a killer? So is Stu. They killed Sid's mom for boinking Billy's dad. Gail forgets the safety is on. Hey Stu, your favorite show is on. Sid almost saves the day. Gail saves the day. Sid ends her movie with a bullet to Billy's brain. Whew. So how do both Sid and Gail fit the final girl mold? While both characters don't adhere to many of the stereotypes that came before them, each helped change the genre and reinvigorate a horror scene that had gone stagnant in the 80s and early 90s. We find out early on that Sidney fits the stereotype of the final girl virgin. This has a lot to do with the fact that her mother was raped and murdered only a year prior.
Although this is not the first time this small community of Woodsboro has endured such tragedy. Only a year ago, Maureen Prescott, wife and mother, was found raped and murdered not far from this peaceful town square.
That doesn't stop Billy from laying on the moves though. Easy there, gropey. That's about the only way Sid fits the old school final girl cliche. She spends most of the movie kicking the shit out of the bumbling Ghostface like the badass she is. Early on, we find out that Gail Weathers has questionable morals and in many ways doesn't fit the final girl stereotype. We'll see as the film and the series progresses how Gail's character develops and becomes more of the character type we'd expect from a final girl. While Sidney spends most of the film being chased and caught up in the evolving drama surrounding her, Gail plays the role of the nosy reporter to perfection and gets all up in Sid's shit.
Can you tell me anything? Yeah, you're a real pain in the ass. Leave me alone.
Now let's see how these two characters fit the final girl formula. Just as a reminder, this is completely subjective. Any questions on how I come up with the final girl formula, check out episode 0 of this series. First criteria, resourcefulness. Both Sid and Gail show an incredible ability to adapt and overcome Ghostface as the film progresses. I'm giving the edge to Gail on this one though. Her no bullshit approach to reporting and how she wedges herself into the storyline is brilliant. It's one of my favorite parts of this flick. Gail gets the win on this one.
Move it, Kenny.
You're not letting anybody in.
I'm not just anyone.
Toughness. Both ladies get beat up a lot in this movie, but I'm definitely giving Sid the win. On more than one occasion, she's able to fight back and escape Ghostface, even though he's not exactly a ninja warrior when it comes to agility. Try staying on your feet, dude. For the last criteria of the final girl formula, we'll judge how charismatic these two characters are. I always felt that both Sidney and Gail were relatable, likable characters. For the same reasons I gave Gail the nod in the resourcefulness category, I'm giving her the win here as well. I mean, she's relentless, and that hidden camera in Randy's party was smooth as hell. The last criteria in the final girl formula is how moralistic the two characters are. For me, the clear winner is Sidney, even though it's Gail's lack of morals that makes her more interesting for me to watch. Sid was a very different take on the teenage final girl. In my opinion, she was a decently developed character that most of us could relate to growing up in the 90s. While she may have strayed from the final girl cliche of being a virgin in this movie, Sid still gets the win over Gail in her report-at-all-costs approach. Now it's time for the bonus round. Each girl gets a bonus for being alive at the end of the film. Then it comes down to who endures the most, both physically and mentally throughout the film. For me, the clear winner is Sidney. She's constantly getting attacked by Ghostface, and something tells me she wouldn't forget the safety. Oops. So according to the perfectly but not really developed final girl formula, Sidney Prescott barely gets the win over Gail Weathers in this one. The battle doesn't stop there though. Next, the two kickasses of Woodsboro show us who has the best dialogue chops. The script was written by the mind behind Dawson's Creek, Kevin Williamson, and it's no surprise he captured the teen angst of the time very well when writing Scream. Sorry Dawson, you got nothing on Woodsboro. Early on, Sidney escapes an attack from Ghostface and she believes it was Billy since he showed up at the right place at the wrong time. As they head down to the police station, Gail shows up ready to roll. Her reduced fat, chip-loving cameraman Kenny isn't as quick to get the footage, however, and it leads to this sick burn.
Where's she going?
Look, Kenny,
Yeah?
I know that you're about 50 pounds overweight, but when I say hurry, please interpret that as move your fat tub of lard ass now!
Sorry, Kenny. Got nothing but chip-loving chunky guy respect for you, dude. Gail isn't exactly the most humble character in Scream, though, as she screams,
Hey, watch the hand! You know what you're dealing with here?
as if you didn't know who she was, Deputy No Name. Get out of her way, man. She's Gail fucking Weathers. Later on, as Sid, Tatum, and Dewey try to sneak out the back of the police station, Gail uses those journalistic instincts and approaches Sid for an interview. Even as Tatum tries to intercept her, Gail sticks around, and Sidney sarcastically agrees to do the interview. After asking Gail how her book was going, yes, that same book that Gail wrote on the murder of Sidney's mother, Gail shouts,
I'll send you a copy.
and promptly gets decked for it. Get wrecked, Gail. The next day when Sid arrives at school, she walks over to talk to Gail, who of course is parked outside the school just waiting for the latest story. Sid and Gail discuss Cotton Weary, the man Sid accused of murdering her mother, Maureen. Gail isn't sold though, and she thinks Cotton is innocent. Gail hits Sid with the facts, which leaves Sid questioning herself. After Tatum intervenes with this verbal shot,
Nice welt, sweetie. Let's go, Sid.
Gail speaks more truth and is rewarded with a verbal knockout from Sid.
Sorry I mangled your face.
That's some cold-hearted shit, ladies, even though Gail kinda does deserve it. It's no secret that Sidney debates her virginity for the better part of this movie, leading to this bit of self-deprecation.
You know, with all this sex stuff, how many guys would put up with a girlfriend who's sexually anorexic?
Billy and his penis don't deserve you, all right?
I see you shopping for ice cream back there, Ghostface.
Hello?
As the party kicks off and shit gets stabby, Gail and Dewey split up to investigate. Gail doubles back to the van and shouts for Kenny. That poor chip-munching bastard had his throat slit by everyone's favorite agility-stunted killer and slides down the window dramatically as Gail tries to drive away.
Oh God, Kenny, I'm sorry, but get off my fucking windshield!
Poor Kenny can't win with Gail, even at death. R.I.P., buddy. Billy is stabbed by Ghostface and sends Sidney to test the first rule of horror, cardio.
Rule number 1 for surviving Zombieland: cardio.
Wrong movie, my bad. Anyway, Sid escapes from Ghostface's weak-ass grip. Shortly, she's approached by Randy, then Stu, each claiming the other is the killer. Sid isn't having that shit, though.
He did it! He did it, Sidney! Please, I didn't do it! He did it, please! Please, Sidney, no!
Fuck you both!
Please!
Oh, God.
Hell yeah, girl. Let those two fight to the death. After a couple great killer reveals, serious scene chewing by Matthew Lillard, lots of talk about Sid's mom being a slut and that being a good reason to kill her.
Why did you kill my mother?
Why?
Why?
You hear that, Stu? I think she wants a motive. We did your mom a favor, Sid. That woman was a slutbag whore, flashed her shit all over town like she was Sharon Stone or something.
Yeah, it would put her out of her misery, because let's face it, Sidney, your mother was no Sharon Stone.
We get an amazing scene where Sid fights Stu. Just before she drops a big old TV on his face, Sid drops this bit of genius dialogue.
In your dreams.
Yes, kids, TVs used to be big enough to crush someone's face. After Gail shows up to save the day, she gives the gun to Sid.
Guess I remember the safety that time, you bastard.
Hell yeah, Gail. You tell that bleeding nerd. Randy talks about more seriously meta shit before Billy makes one more grab. Sid isn't letting that mom-killing bitch steal the show, though, and end shit with this.
Not in my movie.
So who wins the Say What category of Final Girl Face-Off? According to my tally, Gail gets the win here. I'm sure I'm missing more good lines from this movie, but these are my favorites, and it's my show, so... That leaves the last segment of Final Girl Face-Off. Badassery. Gail remains unscathed for much of the movie, while Sid runs around being chased by Falling Face. Let's be honest, Sid got her ass kicked in this one. Sure, Gail gets kicked around and survives the battle of the van versus tree, but she loses a point in my book for forgetting the safety. Meanwhile, Sid flips the switch on Stu and Billy.
Are you alone in the house? Not so fast. we're gonna play a little game. It's called
Guess who just called the police and reported you? Sorry, motherfucking ass!
Dons the Ghostface garb herself while stabbing Billy with a fucking umbrella. Tussles around in TV's stew.
I always had a thing for you, Sid!
In your dreams.
Then fights Billy once more.
Fuck you!
say hello to your mother.
But wait, oh shit! It was Gail who really saved the day in this one.
Careful. This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life for one last scare.
Although bonus points to Sid for that final dome shot.
Not in my movie.
So where do I stand in the final girl face-off between Sidney Prescott and Gail Weathers? I'm giving the edge to Sidney, but it was super close. And if I'm being honest, I like Gail's character more in this one. Sid mainly gets the win because of all the physical and mental abuse she takes in this movie. There's no denying how super kick-ass both characters are though, which makes me more excited to dive deeper into the Scream franchise with Scream 2 next episode. Thank you for checking out Final Girl Face Off. You can love horror movies, but be a killer person.